only thing we have to fear is
in war.
fear itself.
There is no substitute for victory.
Let us never negotiate out of fear.
We stand undivided, forever united, fighting hand in hand for the liberty we've earned, for glory and honor, for our sons and daughters, ever mindful of the lessons we've learned. Let the torch of freedom burn.
Welcome to the intersection of faith and politics. This is WallBuilders Live, and today we're going to get the conclusion of a three-part series out of our Constitution Alive series. In that Constitution Alive series, we cover every amendment, every article. We walk you through the Constitution and give you the original intent. And this week we've been sharing with you Section 4 out of Constitution Alive, which is about the Congress. And this three-part series, if you happen to miss yesterday or the day before, you can go to our website right now at WallBuilders Live and grab it. But we're going to pick up right where we left off yesterday with Constitution Alive. This next clause there, if you're on page 12 where we're going through the enumerated powers, I know we don't like it. I don't like these $1 trillion deficits, friends. I think they're immoral. I think they're wrong. Unfortunately, they are constitutional. And that phrase says to borrow money on the credit of the United States. It's one of the powers we put in the bucket. And of course, we want them to be able to fight wars. At some time, you know how close we were to amending that part of the Constitution? We almost had a balanced budget amendment, 1999. Anybody know? How close were we? One. You got it right there, ma'am. One vote. One vote. We could have had it with one more vote. Don't tell me your vote doesn't count. Every vote counts, every single time. I think we've got a lot of momentum in the country right now. That's probably an amendment we can get done if we put enough support behind it. But anyway, it is obviously constitutional for them to borrow money right now. Let's rein that one in. But here's the Commerce Clause, okay? So here's this next big loophole that they run through. I see three areas right here that the federal government has the power. We gave them or loaned them the power to regulate three areas of commerce. Now, regulate does not mean micromanage. Back then it meant to make regular. So it doesn't mean they get to micromanage it. It means they actually get to make it regular, which is back to this idea of general welfare. It's back to the idea of protecting the system itself. And in commerce, what's the system you want to protect? The free flow of free enterprise, right? So in order to do that, we gave them the power to be the negotiators, if you will, in these three areas of commerce. Three areas only. Number one, we said they can regulate commerce with foreign nations. We already mentioned we don't want 50 states negotiating with these countries and having 50 different treaties. So we let the federal government do that. Fair enough. Second category, and among the several states, as Thomas said, that's interstate commerce. So that interstate commerce that crosses a state line, you could say that the federal camel nose is under the tent. We loaned them the power to, in some way, make regular commerce across state lines. Now, that doesn't mean micromanage. What it means is we're not going to let one state abuse another state in terms of free enterprise. For instance, in Texas, we've really, over the last few decades, increased our agriculture in the area of vineyards and having wineries all around Texas, and it's actually become a big part of our agriculture. Well, California, obviously huge in that, right? Well, Texas legislature cannot pass a law that says, well, we really want to help these guys with these vineyards in Texas be able to do better in their sales, so Texans can't buy California wine anymore. We're going to impose a blockade. That's why we want a commerce clause in the Constitution so that the federal government can say to Texas, no, you can't do that. We want the free flow of commerce because we believe in the free market. And we believe that if you allow that free market to flow, everybody's going to be better off. So that's a legitimate function of the federal government. And then the last category with the Indian tribes. So you've got sovereign Indian tribes. You ought to have the nation of the United States negotiating with them and not all these individual states in terms of the commerce. So there's your three categories: foreign nations, interstate commerce, and your Indian tribes. So I'm just curious, why is it, if I'm going to put a new bathroom in my house, let's say I'm going to do a little remodeling, I'm going to add I'm going to remodel a bathroom. If I call up Joe the plumber up there in Ohio and I say, hey Joe, would you come in and do my bathroom for me? And he says yes, he's going to come, so he's going to bring in tools, he's going to bring in some guys. I got some interstate commerce going on now, right? So the feds actually have an opportunity to make regular this transaction. What if my wife says, you know, honey, I was looking online and they've got this beautiful, fancy, you know, foo-foo toilet in France that I want to order. It's only $1,200, baby. And she's going to order this thing from, now the federal government's got an international, right? We got a foreign nation involved, so now they can make regular the transaction of my remodel in my house.
This is David Barton with another moment from America's history. Revisions today often assert that our founding fathers were atheists or agnostics or deists. This charge is not new. In fact, Patrick Henry was even called a deist in his lifetime. Clearly, no one could question his patriotism, but Henry was hurt that they would question his Christianity. Against the charge that he was a deist, Patrick Henry thundered, "Deism, with me, is but another name for vice and depravity. I hear it is said by the deists that I am one of their number, and indeed, that some good people think I am no Christian. This thought gives me much more pain than being called a traitor. Being a Christian is a character which I prize far above all this world has or can boast." Patrick Henry was quick to refute the charge of deism and to declare his open belief as a Christian.
For more information on God's hand in American history, contact WallBuilders at 1-800-8-REBUILD.
Let the torch of freedom burn.
What happens if Joe the plumber calls me and says, "Rick, man, I got 15 tea parties I'm speaking at this month. There ain't no way I can get down there to do your bathroom. You're going to have to find somebody local, so I can't get Joe the plumber from Ohio, so I hired Joe Smith down the road in Dripping Springs, Texas. He's going to come do it. No tools coming in from out of state, no labor coming in from out of state. We don't have interstate commerce going on anymore." My wonderful, brilliant, gorgeous, amazing wife, as always happens, makes a brilliant decision and says, "You know, honey, that'd be really foolish of us to buy that $1,200 toilet from France when Lowe's has one for $79 going to work just fine." So being as brilliant as she is, she decides we're going to do that. We don't have France involved anymore. No more international commerce, right? No more foreign nations involved. So we don't have foreign nations. We don't have interstate commerce. Why is it that the federal government gets to tell me how much water's got to go through my toilet, what kind of light bulbs I got to have in my bathroom, how wide my door's got to be? I mean, it's ridiculous. It must be because Joe Smith there next door is Choctaw. Or because, thank you, somebody got that one. Or because I'm part Comanche. I'm assuming because of me having some Comanche blood that the federal government has decided that any transaction is with an Indian trust. Surely that I can't figure it out, because there is no reason for the federal government to have anything to do with the commerce that is not fitting into any of those three categories. And you know what's really sad? The courts got this right for a long time. They slapped Congress down, slapped their hand for years when they would try to expand, open up the lid, get a new power, expand and do commerce that was not in those three categories. And then all of a sudden they started kind of rubber stamping what would come out of Congress. And you remember why. It was FDR. He had the switch in time that saved 9, and he was going to pack the court and all this stuff. And all of a sudden they decided, well, we said a little while ago minimum wage, you couldn't do that because that doesn't fit into the Commerce Clause, but now we're going to let you do that. And then they started letting them regulate this and regulate that. And now, you know how bad it's gotten. It's gotten so bad, the Wickard v. Filburn case. This is where a guy is farming. He is raising his own crops. He is not selling them to anybody. He's consuming them himself. He's not buying them from anybody. So there's no commerce here, right? I mean, this would be like you having a garden in your backyard. He's not buying it, no commerce. Our court said the federal government could come in with all the weight of the Department of Agriculture on this guy and say, you have to obey all of we can regulate everything you're doing because it's commerce. You say, well, how is it commerce that's not crossing state lines? How is it commerce if he's not even selling anything and he's not buying anything? They say, well, had he bought those crops down at the farmer's market, it might have affected the price of commerce. I mean, the price of those crops. Had he sold his crops down at the farmer's market, it might have affected the price, and therefore this is somehow going to have some related. If you connect enough dots, it will impact interstate commerce. Friends, that's where we are. That's how far we've gone from the plain language. I mean, is anybody confused by those three categories? Anybody confused by the plain language of the Constitution? And yet, because we've gone away from what these guys told us to do, we no longer interpret that language by what they said. We let some judge somewhere else twist it a little bit, then twist it a little more, then twist it a little more. You know how bad it is now? The whole idea of taking health care through the Commerce Clause, the federal judge that initially said it was unconstitutional, he said the reason is because not only did Wickard v. Filburn allow us to regulate commerce, or regulate activity that was not commerce, not only did it go so far as to allow us to regulate activity that was not commerce, what this law does is it allows us to regulate inactivity that is not commerce. And do you get how bad that is? That means we can regulate anything you do or don't do. And that's what the court said was such a bad idea. And by the way, one good thing that came out of the Supreme Court decision on health care is that Justice Roberts actually said no to using the Commerce Clause for health care. So he put the brakes on this slippery slope we've gone with the Commerce Clause. That was one of the good things that came out of it. In fact, he said, the path of our Commerce Clause decisions has not always run smooth, but it is now well established that Congress has broad authority under the clause. Hang on a second. Well established by whom? So a retired English teacher in the room, is it whom or who? Well established by, let's just go with whom because it makes it sound smart. I don't know. Well established by whom? I mean, just because the courts have said that the Commerce Clause gives broad discretion to Congress, that doesn't mean it's so. That doesn't mean that's what these guys wanted. And when you go back to what they said, they did not want it to give them broad discretion. So I completely disagree with the Chief Justice on this. It is not well established. It may be well, thought in their minds or well established in their circles, but not these guys that sat in this room. They'd be standing up and saying, oh no, you got that one entirely wrong. In fact, the four justices that dissented in the healthcare decision said this about how far this was going to go if we allowed this kind of expansion of the government.
This is Scalia, Alito, Thomas, and Kennedy.
To go beyond that, meaning going beyond what happened in Wickard v. Filburn, to go beyond regulating commerce activity that is not commerce under the Constitution, but to even go even further than that, they said, and to say that the failure to grow wheat. So remember what was happening in the case. This guy was growing wheat and consuming it. So there was an activity happening, and the feds decided that that was an activity they could regulate. What they're saying is now we're going to go beyond even that and say that the failure to grow wheat. So now we're not growing wheat. And the failure to grow wheat, which is not an economic activity or any activity at all, nonetheless affects commerce. So now this guy doesn't even grow his wheat, doesn't sell it down the street, and so now we're going to be able to regulate him. They said that is to make mere breathing in and out the basis for federal prescription. It extends federal power to virtually all human activity. That's four of our Supreme Court justices saying this has gone way too far. We're using the Commerce Clause or, frankly, any part of the Constitution to regulate people just for breathing in and out. That's their words. That's how far we've allowed it to go, friends. Now, commerce is supposed to be free enterprise. The more we micromanage it, the less freedom we have. The more we force people into the marketplace, the less freedom we have. And Jefferson had a great quote on this. He said, the pillars of our prosperity are the most thriving when left most free to individual enterprise. When we regulate to the point of micromanaging, when we force people into the marketplace, we're not left free to individual enterprise, are we? That's how far we've gone. And the reason? We hadn't been reading it. We haven't studied it. We haven't looked at what the real meaning behind those words actually are. That's why what we're doing is so important. Because see, if you and I can go back to what these guys actually did and said, if we can learn what they really intended, and then we can go back home and we can share it with our friends and family, if we can use this knowledge in the decisions we make about who we elect to go to Congress, if we can begin to get young people to understand this and someday run for Congress, then we can get members of Congress that understand these things, and we can rein this thing in. We can turn it back, folks. We can get Congress back into its proper bucket, if you will, with the lid on it. We'll just do our duties as citizens.
This is David Barton with another moment from America's history. At the time of the American Revolution, numerous other nations also had revolutions, yet 200 years later, America is the only of those nations still under its original form of government. Is this just good luck? Not according to Founding Father Benjamin Rush. He declared, "I do not believe that the Constitution was the offspring of inspiration, but I am as perfectly satisfied that it is as much the work of a divine providence as any of the miracles recorded in the Old and New Testament." George Washington agreed. In fact, he declared, "I should be pained to believe that the United States have forgotten that divine interposition which was so often manifested during our Revolution, or that they fail to consider the omnipotence of that God who is alone able to protect them. Our founders acknowledged that our national success had come from God."
For more information on God's hand in American history, contact WallBuilders at 1-800-8REBUILD.
Let the torch of freedom burn.
Constitution alive means that this document is still alive. It is still applicable today to our lives. David, I believe we can get to those big changes, but you know, and they will restore our constitutional republic if we bring them in. But to get to those, we have to dive into the details. And it makes me think about why the founders got so detailed. I mean, for them to sit in that hot room and sweat it out and actually go through line by line, like you said earlier, post roads, and all these specific details. Why did they do that? Why not just have one general statement that said government can do whatever's necessary to protect us?
They had a real distrust of power. They had been through it themselves with the king, but they've also been through it in the scriptures. And John Adams, for example, is one that in multiple letters talks about Jeremiah 17:9 as the basis for why they separated powers, because the scripture says the heart of man is desperately wicked, who can know it? In other words, if you leave man to his own devices, it will turn bad.
So they distrusted government because they distrusted man.
They distrusted man. And so man is not naturally good. You have to corral him and get him to do the right things. It's kind of funny. Who teaches 2-year-olds to lie? It just comes natural.
You don't have to.
I mean, there's 43 toys in a room, and the kid can have anyone, but if his sister picks up that one, that's the one. Who taught him? You know, who taught him selfishness? That's just part of human nature. And so they understood the nature of man. That look, there are ways you can learn self-control, but there are other times you have to exert control, because they've seen all the stuff that happened in France. They've seen Robespierre and all the stuff that went with that. They've seen the revolution in Greece. They've seen all these revolutions. And they've been under British history themselves, watching what's happened with the different kings, whether it was William and Mary or whether it was Mary, Queen of Scots, totally different approaches. So they knew history, they knew the character of man, and as John Adams said, they knew the Bible. Therefore, we separate powers, and we're really specific. We're not going to just tell you general categories. We're going to tell you what you can do. And the other reason is, you remember we were talking earlier about battle plans and battle maps. You get up there.
Looking at the bird's eye view, you're really getting,
All right, so we're up here, and we understand that we also are creating a federal republic which shares power with lower-level entities, and that's the state and communities. And so just as we have to separate power horizontally, we separate between the judiciary and the executive, and we separate it over here with the legislative. And by the way, not only did they separate powers, the Federalist Papers said that they gave each branch constitutional arms of self-defense. In other words, if that branch starts doing something you're supposed to be doing,
fight back. You've got tools in your toolbox.
Now, I will just about guarantee you ask a congressman today, name me 5 tools you have to fight back against the judiciary, and they can't tell me a thing. But the Constitution gave each branch tools to fight back. Name me 5 tools you have against an overreaching executive. Name me 5, whatever it is. The other branches don't know that anymore. And so the founders were very specific.
What a waste, because it really is a brilliant battle plan that the founders put in place to keep these different...
And they wrote it all down. You know, and I'm sure if they were here today, they'd say, Are you just all illiterate?
Why aren't you using what we gave you?
Are you lazy?
Yeah.
I mean, this room is filled with their writings, and they're online, by the way. I mean,
this
these
wasn't
things
a secret meeting that they didn't expose all the secrets. You know, they gave us all the secrets.
Here it is. You know, all the discussions in the Constitutional Convention, they're right here, and those were private discussions at the time, so they could be very candid. But they made them public.
But then they came out and said, "Here's what we've got for you,
and here's a lot." So it's real simple stuff. But what happens is we also have a separation of powers, not between the three branches, but between the levels of government. And that's federalism. Yeah. Hey, federal government, there's only certain things you can do. And by the way, state governments, here's what you can do, and local governments, here's what you do. And so that bicameralism of horizontal separation and branches, and then the vertical separation powers that Thomas Jefferson talks about are very significant. So what they did, understanding all the components that have some jurisdiction in this, they said, okay, we're going to tell you specifically what Congress can do, what the President can do, and what the judicial branch can do. Yeah. Now, does that mean that there's not other stuff to be done? No, there definitely is. But that's why we give you the 9th and 10th Amendment. And the 10th Amendment says anything we didn't specifically give to Congress belongs to the states. We gave 18 areas to Congress. That means 4,432,000 areas belong to the states. That's part of the vertical separation of powers. People today look at that and say, well, they didn't say we couldn't do it. Yeah, they did. The 10th Amendment said if we didn't tell the government they could do it, then they can't.
Have you noticed the vacuum of leadership in America? We're looking around for leaders of principle to step up, and too often, no one is there. God is raising up a generation of young leaders with a passion for impacting the world around them. They're crying out for the mentorship and leadership training they need. Patriot Academy was created to meet that need. Patriot Academy graduates now serve in state capitals around America, in the halls of Congress, in business, in the film industry, in the pulpit, and every area of the culture. They're leading effectively and impacting the world around them. Patriot Academy is now expanding across the nation, and now's your chance to experience this life-changing week that trains champions to change the world. Visit patriotacademy.com for dates and locations. Our core program is still for young leaders 16 to 25 years old, but we also now have a citizen track for adults. So visit the website today to learn more. Help us fill the void of leadership in America. Join us in training champions to change the world at patriotacademy.com.
Let the torch of freedom burn.
The 9th and the 10th Amendment, same with the people. You know, we told the government what they could do, but people, you got everything else that you can do. Yeah. So that's why they were very specific in what they did. That's why they gave us constitutional tools of self-defense. But the problem we have is if you are looking for a loophole, and you talked about the loopholes, the General Welfare Clause and the Commerce, and all, you will find a way to bust the intent of what it is. I don't care what the intent is. I want a loophole so that I can get around it. Yeah. And
you'll change the meaning of words, do whatever it takes to get around it. Yeah.
And John Dickinson, who was not only a guy who helped put the Declaration together, but he's the guy who also signed the Constitution, one of the founding fathers, he talked about how dangerous that is when you start looking for loopholes and how it changes everything. And I'll just read here from his work. He says, nothing is more certain than that the forms of liberty may be retained when the substance is gone. In other words, you still got a Constitution, but it doesn't work anymore because you had a heart transplant. You took the heart out of it and replaced it with something else. He said, nothing is more certain than that the forms of liberty may be retained when the substance is gone. He said, in government as well as in religion, and then he makes a direct quote, the letter kills, but the spirit gives life. Now, that's a direct quote out of 2 Corinthians 3:6, and he notes it's right out of the Bible. He says that works in government just like it is in religion. If you forget, for example, that in religion, Jesus, in dealing with the Sabbath law, said, hey guys, don't forget the Sabbath was made to serve you. You weren't made to serve the Sabbath. Well, you can get so into Sabbath laws that it becomes a bondage on your back, and instead of you getting the rest you need, it becomes something that's your slave driver. He said government's the same way.
Because you've gotten caught up in the legalistic letter of the law instead of the spirit of what he intended.
And so, same thing. If you get caught up in the actual wording of the General Welfare Clause, and if I tweak my nose just the right direction, if I tilt my shoulder left,
stand just right,
I can find an interpretation. No. Remember the spirit of the General Welfare Clause.
Which you get by studying all this.
Which you get by studying all that. And which you laid out very clearly. Yeah. I mean, you had all the founders' quotes on it. Don't don't try to squeeze a new meaning out of this, but go to the, because when you do, he says, in government as well as in religion, the letter kills, but the Spirit gives life. And if you go to that literal word-by-word interpretation instead of what they were trying to give, you will kill the Constitution, you'll kill the country, you'll kill freedom, you'll kill prosperity, you'll kill all those things we enjoy. And that's why the founders are so good about being so specific in so many areas so that we can get the principles, applied to principles, and have the same result that we've had for 200 years.
All right, we're going to keep walking through those specifics. The great thing here is we're getting some tangibles. I mean, these are real areas where you can restore that liberty if you go back to that original meaning. It's kind of neat. It's not just this, oh, study the Constitution. We're finding specific areas. We go, oh, we can fix that area right there. Right. Now that we know what the intent was, we go to our congressman and say, hey, let's get this thing right. So we're going to get into more of those specifics. Our hope is that you are getting excited and realizing that we can restore this constitutional republic. In our next chapter, we'll finish out Article 1, Section 8, and those enumerated powers, and we're going to take some questions from our audience in Philadelphia when we come back on Constitution Alive with David Barton and Rick Green.
Well, that's it, folks. Thanks for joining us today. This three-part series has ended today. It's Constitution Alive. That was Section 4 covering the Congress. Actually, Section 5 also covers the Congress. It took 2 full sections to do that and talk about those enumerated powers. Sorry we couldn't share more with you today. We're out of time, but if you go to our website at wallbuilderslive.com, you can get the entire three-part series we have shared with you this week right there online and share it with your friends and family. Get them educated about the true intent of the Constitution and what the founders intended for the proper role of our Congress to be, what the federal government's actual jurisdiction should be under the Constitution. You can find out more at our website at WallBuildersLive.com.
We stand undivided, forever united, fighting hand in hand for the liberty we burn, for glory and honor, for our sons and daughters, ever mindful of the lessons we've learned. Let the torch of freedom burn.
Welcome to the intersection of faith and politics. This is WallBuilders Live, and today we're going to get the conclusion of a three-part series out of our Constitution Alive series. In that Constitution Alive series, we cover every amendment, every article. We walk you through the Constitution and give you the original intent. And this week we've been sharing with you Section 4 out of Constitution Alive, which is about the Congress. And this three-part series, if you happen to miss yesterday or the day before, you can go to our website right now at WallBuilders Live and grab it. But we're going to pick up right where we left off yesterday with Constitution Alive. This next clause there, if you're on page 12 where we're going through the enumerated powers, I know we don't like it.
The only thing we have to fear is
In war,
fear itself.
there is no substitute for victory.
Let us never negotiate out of fear.
We stand undivided, forever united, fighting hand in hand for the liberty we've earned, for glory and honor, for our sons and daughters, ever mindful of the lessons we've learned. Let the torch of freedom burn.
We gave them the power to be the negotiators, if you will, in these 3 areas of commerce. 3 areas only. Number 1, we said they can regulate commerce with foreign nations. We already mentioned we don't want 50 states negotiating with these countries and having 50 different treaties. So we let the federal government do that. Fair enough. Second category, and among the several states, as Thomas said, that's interstate commerce. So that interstate commerce that crosses a state line, you could say that the federal camel nose is under the tent. We loaned them the power to, in some way, make regular commerce across state lines. Now, that doesn't mean, but anyway, it is obviously constitutional for them to borrow money right now. Let's rein that one in. But here's the Commerce Clause, okay? So here's this next big loophole that they run through. I see 3 areas right here that the federal government has the power, we gave them or loaned them the power to regulate 3 areas of commerce. Now, regulate does not mean micromanage. Back then it meant to make regular. So it doesn't mean they get to micromanage it. It means they actually get to make it regular, which is back to this idea of general welfare. It's back to the idea of protecting the system itself. And in commerce, what's the system you want to protect? The free flow of free enterprise, right? So in order to do that, I don't like these $1 trillion deficits, friends. I think they're immoral. I think they're wrong. Unfortunately, they are constitutional. That phrase says to borrow money on the credit of the United States. They have, it's one of the powers we put in the bucket. And of course, we want them to be able to fight wars. At some time, you might have, you know how close we were to amending that part of the Constitution? We almost had a balanced budget amendment, 1999. Anybody know? How close were we? 1. You got it right there, ma'am. 1 vote. 1 vote. We could have had it with 1 more vote. Don't tell me your vote doesn't count. Every vote counts, every single time. I think we've got a lot of momentum in the country right now. That's probably an amendment we can get done if we put enough support